Libraries are the most traditional source of information for any kind of discipline or knowledge areas. In the digital era, we have many other options to get information, being Google the most common nowadays. So what stands actually for typical libraries? How do we visualize them in these modern days? Do they still have this traditional image of boring places with unfriendly employees and strange people visiting them? What comes ahead for traditional libraries?
I think the last 5 or 10 years have been really very dramatic in the changes. Our environment has changed a lot. We are doing everything digital. We are working digital, we are having fun digital with some games, and we keep in touch with all our friends and family and colleagues over digital media. And also in the library we have more and more digital media and digital information, of course. So the question is, why should people come to the library when everything is on Google, as some people say? I think it's very important to have the library as a nice and welcoming space. It should be like a lounge. It should be a place where you can discover things you wouldn't have discovered otherwise. So I think the most important thing is a good atmosphere to invite people, and then of course bring people to the books and show people the digital information you have available as a library, because it's not obvious, not everybody finds everything on Google.
Everybody likes the idea of libraries, and I think if there is, it's people who don't understand the multiple roles libraries have. So maybe part of our jobs as being interested is to help people understand the roles, the multitude of roles. That we have a role of where we provide information, and maybe that role has diminished. You're still needing to connect people to real information, and some of that information is more difficult and complex. Or we're still trying to build information. I think the libraries have a role in building information that help people understand.
Factors affecting the comparison between the former library to the current library are the information technology, the development of the user needs, the increasing knowledge and scale of librarians, as well as the existence of competitions. We said that former library as a conventional library serves as a place for reading and searching for literature. Libraries in the digital age that is caused by the 4 factors above, causing the changes in the function of the library. They are the changes to the management of the library, the librarian's behavior changes, a change in the service provided. So the library must change the vision of not only serving the visitor, but also library as a knowledge hub that guarantees access to knowledge to the future generations.
Government budget cost reductions can affect directly to public libraries. This is the case in Indonesia, which brings the library heads to consider new ways to maintain libraries appealing to the general public. The communities and users that libraries serve are always changing. True innovation helps libraries adapt to meet the needs and aspirations, both now and in the future. Knowing these user trends and necessities will always help libraries to be up to date with the changing society. It is mandatory to adapt library services to the developing technologies people incorporate in their everyday lives, to include library services in the approachable sources within these technologies. Such technologies include the most popular available services people usually use, such as Facebook, WhatsApp, to name a couple.
The most important is that how you want to have your library to become. It's very important that you have your innovation, your creativity. You should have your love of work. That's most important to have a successful library, because if there's no innovation from the librarian, I think there will be no innovation in everything. There will be no new services. Your library will be stagnant, traditional, so there will be no improvement. And then the most important is how you market your library. You should have the standard for your library services. You should have the standard for all the collections that you want. And the most important is that you support the needs of your library user.
Now, you likely plug a few search terms into Google and click one of the first links that come up on the subject. Would Google become the usual source of consultation?
That Google can give you 1,000 answers, but only the librarian can give you the correct one. Google is not a competitor. It's an advantage for our user. So how are we going to maintain the usefulness of the library is to ensure that you have a sufficient services to provide with the help of the Google, right? So it's an add-on to your services. You take advantage that Google is available to provide additional services. In terms of the budget cost, yes, everyone has the budget cost, but it's on how you develop your planning. You should have your extensive planning. What is your target? What do you want for this year or for the upcoming years? Then it's a matter of ability to have the resources available within your means only. So it's also important that a librarian has the budgeting skills. As a librarian, we have to be resourceful. You cannot just merely depend on the budget provided by your university. You have to be resourceful. How can we be resourceful? If you don't have sufficient budget, then you can have the network with other university so that you can have the interlibrary loan. So it doesn't necessary that you have to purchase all the books in the world, and there is no such library who can complete all the collections in the world. So if you have the benchmarking or you have a network with other university library, then I think the budget problem can already be resolved. And then another resources is that there are some in the website that provides a free resources. So all you have to do to your user is to provide them on how to search them, how to make use of the available resources online with the proper citation. Of course, we have to encourage them that they should not plagiarize or copy anything in the net. So with the use of the Google, as we have saying that Google is our competitor, no, it is an advantage for us to have the Google.
Librarian must be not just keep the book, but librarian must be market themselves and market for the library to inform the people what they have, what is useful for the society. So that's why it is very important for the librarian to know what they have and to give information literacy like educate them how to search information. Library is not just the building but mobile library to reach the people who in rural area. We assist to the province in Indonesia more than 600 mobile library. For the outer island, we provide 7 floating libraries. In Jakarta itself, we have a Pustelling. It is a library and electronic mobile, and then that is the Pustelling we completed with a laptop. So the people who cannot reach the internet or something like that, we have with our Pustelling.
Particularly, I like the idea of traveling library. You have a car or a bus, and then it goes around, and then there's new books, and they like to buy it, or you can borrow it. But for after a week, you have to return it. Sometimes you cannot just expect people to come to your library, but sometimes your library had to come to visit the people. And don't forget, one of the important source of strength for the formation of nation, because the role played by print culture. Can you imagine Hatta, when he went to Holland, he was still very young, 18 years old. But when he came back 11 years later, he was already recognized as a great leader. Why? Because he sent words from Holland. By reading, you might get some ideas. By reading, you might get the ideas how to fulfill the ideas. Because reading, it's also a kind of a bridge to the future.
So that's the role of the libraries. Giving access, long-term access, not only for now or tomorrow, but for the next 100, 200 years. We have to really think long-term, and we have to be able to guarantee that all the information that we hold now is also always available to all our research.
So, will public libraries become extinct? Will libraries becoming increasingly virtual? The librarian becoming a knowledge navigator.
Books are different, and we still need books, because you can't have libraries without books. You can't have books, and books mean better libraries, and better libraries mean more books. But research is increasingly finding that when you read a book, it's different than when you read a Google article. Our minds work differently, and focused, long research. You can't read the Mahabharata online. Or you can't read the Quran, or you can't read those sort of texts in an online. That requires a different kind of place. We need to create those spaces. Just as much as we need the public busy places, we need those quiet spaces that only libraries can give.
I think definitely the library will never be eliminated in the world. Yeah, maybe there will be changes. Maybe there will be a change in terms of physical environment, physical facilities. For example, maybe in the future we will have less shelves, right? Because everything is already electronically available. Maybe everything could be just a small room to have the library, because they have a lot of computers already available in the offices or in the university. But definitely library cannot be eliminated. Why? Because only the library is the one who is in charge for providing the information to the university. So if we will eliminate the library, how come the resources and the authentic resources will be available to our library user? So when I'm talking about authenticity, we all know that in the Google, yes, maybe everything is available, but we don't know how authentic they are. But if you find resources in the library, we can ensure that 100% of them, especially the electronic journals, are already undergo extensive research. And that is the difference of the articles that we can find in the net and the articles that we can find in the library.
Okay, we know that the library now is very different, developing the new technology. So we move from the old version of library to the electronic library. Currently, we also have a Center for Scientific Information Center to collect all of scientific information. We start from the physical library, develop to modern library using the new technology. For young people, visual is easier to understand. We want to develop the multimedia library. The new problem is about the big data. So big data is very important in the future. We prepare to make scientific information from the textbook to multimedia. We can share all of the people.
And that's really what a country needs. A library is the basis for research, and a country can only develop on the basis of new research and technology. Without research and technology, without that, a country cannot develop. That has been proven.
So I think the library is more important than ever to help you gain information literacy, to help you gain this knowledge. You need to know what's good and what's not good for my work. Your success in life is based on reading. You read on your smartphone, you read on your tablet, you read on your computer, and you read books eventually. So without reading, you will not proceed in life. So start reading early, read a lot, and discover the joy of reading.